Tuesday, September 11, 2001. We rose to a cloudless, clear blue sky that turned into a nightmare of fire, death, and destruction. A bewildered humanity reacted all over the world. We're all Americans in solidarity with our plight. We're gathered here to remember the tragic date in American history, a time when we turn to heaven for solace, guidance, and reassurance. We thank Governor Andrew Cuomo for the past 3 years has organized a memorial motorcycle ride to honor the legacy of our brave first responders by tracing the path the firefighters from Rescue 1 drove to the World Trade Center on September 11. We're honored with the participation of the Vice President Joe Biden, a compassionate leader of courage whose presence is a source of comfort, encouragement, and hope. Firefighters, I also wish to remember my good friend, the chaplain of the fire department in New York, Chaplain Michael Judge, who met his death while administering help to his firefighters. I'll never forget, on September 23, with Cardinal Egan and the religious leaders at Yankee Stadium, 30,000 men and women trying to discover whether their loved ones are still alive. We offered prayers. We were shell-shocked. We prayed for the victims of this terrorist attack, with family members who were still hoping to recover the missing. At the conclusion of that service, a woman came over to me with her 2 young children. And listen to what she said. My husband was an ambulance driver. He rushed to the scene on Tuesday morning. For 2 days, we didn't know what happened. But finally, his body was discovered. Rabbi, I thank God that I am permitted to bury my husband. Many of my people, friends, their remains, their loved one remains, will never be discovered. It's truly moving, friends, to see so many of you joining, some having traveled hundreds of miles to pay tribute to those brave men and women who showed their best on that fateful day 14 years ago. But Ground Zero is not a hole devoid of life. The new skyline in Lower Manhattan is a testimony to our resolve. We have prevailed and once again have shown the resilience of New Yorkers and all Americans. O Lord, from the depth of despair and destruction, we call upon you, and you answered our prayers. The barbarians could not break our spirit. And on this day of remembrance, O Lord, protect us from a new generation of civilization wreckers who have no regard for human life, spreading terror, destroying houses of worship, and challenging our way of life of freedom and democracy. In a world of disorder, and conflict, O Lord, help us perfect an imperfect world. And finally, O Lord, bless and shield the men and women who risk their lives of the police and fire department on a daily basis to save life, to assure our safety. And let us all say together, God bless America. Say it. God bless America, the land of freedom, the land of immigrants. United in diversity, may we be blessed to enjoy the American dream. And that dream is freedom of speech, freedom of worship, freedom from want, and freedom from fear. O God, bless and protect us, be gracious unto us, and grant us peace. And let us all say, amen. Amen. Now it's my privilege and pleasure to introduce a very dedicated public servant, the President of New York City PBA, Patrick Lynch.
Thank you, Rabbi. Mr. Vice President, Governor Cuomo, our governor. Many things have changed on these sites since September of 2001. Many of the faces have changed. Many men and women that wear the shield on their chests were not even on the job on that day. What we used to call the pile then became the pit, is now a mecca for business and folks to flourish as they live their lives. That happened with the leadership of our governor, who helped us change this city. But many things have remained the same. The things that have remained the same is the dedication of the men and women that wear a shield on their chest and a patch on their shoulder. On September 11, 2001, the world saw what New York City police officers and our fellow responders were made of. While many fled north, New York City police officers confidently headed south. When we got on that pile, we dug with our bare hands to bring every last person home we could. Yes, we dug for our brothers and our sisters, but we dug for your mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters. And we stayed on that pile till the job was done. Those 23 New York City police officers that died that day are true American heroes. Mr. Vice President, there's some more American heroes. It's those men and women that served on that pile, that climbed into that pit, that to this day suffer from those illnesses. We've lost more from September 11th illnesses than we lost on that day. But there's also heroes, men and women, Governor, that you support, that are sitting on their couches at home, that struggles to take a breath. Well, I know we all believe that every breath that they take makes them heroes as well. So we're here today, although some are new to our job, some have some gray in their temples, the dedication has not changed. If the call came today, this tent would empty. New York City police officers, firefighters, Port Authority police officers, and first responders would once again confidently head south. It's my honor also to introduce to you a person whose members stood patch to patch with us on that pile and had to bear that terrible loss. It's my honor to introduce the next speaker, Stephen Cassidy, President of the New York City Firefighters. Steve.
Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Mr. Vice President, Rabbi. Thank you, Governor. This is a great event. 9/11 every year is a tough day for a lot of people, especially for New York City firefighters and police officers who gave so much and who lost so many friends. But as I was thinking about it coming over here today, 14 years is a long time. And there are certain events in your life that are important to you. They're important because they're good, or they're important because some tragedy happened that you will never forget. And that's what 9/11 is for a lot of people. But I want to focus briefly on the good that came out of that, which is what New York City firefighters and police officers did in the face of a disaster that's unimaginable. The world saw it. They saw what New York City's bravest did, what New York City's finest did, and there was hope. And then what we got back from America was an emotional and physical support and a lift that was amazing in the days and weeks and months that followed. And we will never forget that. America came together and surrounded us and lifted us up. As Pat said, every single day we were on the pile digging and digging and digging for months and months and months. But the support we got from the rest of the country made that doable for all of us. So today is a day to remember the heroes, to remember all those who are struggling with the after effects of 9/11. The Zadroga bill needs to be passed and funded forever. But it's also a day to remember that America came together, and we will always come together when we need each other. And that was a great, great event, and that was special for all of us. It is my honor to introduce my friend, the leader of New York State, the governor of the state, Governor Andrew Cuomo.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First, let's give a big round of applause to Rabbi Schneier for his inspiring words. Pat Lynch, who was a great leader of the NYPD, and all the NYPD, who we owe such a debt of gratitude for keeping this city safe and enforcing the law. Pat Lynch has been extraordinary as a leader for the PBA. Let's give him a round of applause. And to Steve Cassidy, who's head of the Firefighters. We remember them this day. We thank them. We appreciate them. We respect them. And Steve has been an outstanding leader. He's been a great friend to me. He's brought the firefighters forward. Let's give him a round of applause, Steve Cassidy. And a really great New Yorker who I have the honor of calling a friend, who was always there when New York needs him. He's a New York son. He's an international star. But whenever New York has a time of need, Billy Joel is the first person to be there. Let's give him a round of applause. You think he can sing, you have to see him ride a motorcycle. That's really, he has a really, really beautiful collection of bikes. And I will get to our special guest in a moment. There are two words to remember today. And they're on the material you've been given, they're on the scarves, they're on the bandanas. The first word is remember. Remember, that's what today is about, remember. Remember, there are families who are crying today because they still miss the loved ones who they lost. Yes, 14 years is a long time, but when it was your father or your wife or your son or your daughter 14 years ago was like yesterday. They say time heals. I'm not so sure that time heals. Maybe time dulls, but it doesn't heal. And when you lose a loved one, especially the way they were lost that day, they walked out of the house in the morning, and you say, goodbye, honey, I'll see you tonight, and then they were just gone. Without the conversations, without the warning, without the time to say goodbye. We were just at Rescue 1, and the families show up every year, and the families cry every year. And it's not just the families of the NYPD and the firefighters, it's the families of all the people we lost at 9/11. So we remember them. We remember that the threat is not over. It didn't end on 9/11. And just because we rebuilt 9/11 and now we can say it was a pit and we rebuilt and God bless and we rebuilt better than before, don't kid yourself that the threat is gone. The threat is worse than it was 14 years ago. The threat, terrorism, has metastasized like a cancer metastasizes in the body. And they're now all different groups. Hezbollah, ISIL, stronger, recruiting more virulent than ever before. So remember that freedom isn't free, and the threat that we faced on 9/11, which we had faced before in this country, 93 on the same site, is always only getting worse. And we have to be ready and prepared and don't lull ourselves into a false sense of security. And remember that there are people, as Pat Lynch said, who are home today sick because of what they did on 9/11 and suffering because of what they did on 9/11, because they didn't ask the questions, because they didn't wait for the equipment, they didn't wait for the masks, they just went and did the right thing. And they deserve our support, and we will not forget them. And that is the Droga bill. And as the governor of the state of New York, I will not rest until that Droga bill is reissued time and time again. The first word was remember. The second word was honor. We honor those firefighters and those policemen who went to the site that day. Today we are going to retrace the ride of Rescue 1. All of you have come from all over the state. God bless you. From as far away as Buffalo, from Montauk Point, you've ridden hours on motorcycles, which are the great symbol of freedom, to be here today, to make that sacrifice. Give yourself a round of applause. But we are going to recreate the ride that Rescue 1 took that day. From the Rescue 1 firehouse down to the World Trade Center. And when you make that ride, the symbolism is just imagine what was going through their head that day. They knew what they were going into. This was their job, this was their profession. Any firefighter who headed south, any policeman who headed south knew exactly where they were going. Everybody else was running north. They saw the smoke, they saw the fire. This was the World Trade Center. You had never seen a crisis like this. And just imagine every cell in their body had to be saying, protect yourself. Be afraid. Run away. That is the human instinct, to protect yourself. Fear is a human response. It's not that they didn't feel afraid. They felt the fear. They overcame the fear. And they said, I'm going into the face of danger because that is my job and I think I can help. And I believe they were on that fire truck. I believe they were in those police cars, and they had time to think. And they were thinking about the loved ones they were leaving behind. And they were thinking about the children who they may never see again, and the baseball games they may never go to. And they were thinking about the conversations they wished they had before they left the house. And they were thinking about the silly arguments they had and how they wished they could resolve them. but nobody got off that truck. Nobody got off that truck, not a one of them. Nobody said, this isn't for me. Nobody said, I need to go back. And when we talk about honor, that's what we're talking about. We use the word hero, hero, hero. That's what heroism is all about. You felt the fear. You knew what you were doing. You had time to think about it. And you said, I'm putting my duty and my obligation first, even if it's going to cost me my life. God bless. Each one of us thinks, what would we do if we were in that situation? And we love to say we wouldn't get off that truck either. But you know what? You don't know until that moment comes. You do know that every member we lost stayed on that truck and stayed in that car. And that's why we honor them today. We pray for them. We wish their families well. We admire them. And we hope if the call ever comes for us, we show half the courage that they showed that day, because they are true American heroes. They are true New York heroes. Let's give them a round of applause. And now it's my pleasure to introduce a friend, a man who I've worked with for many, many years. But forget the politics, because today is not about politics. Today is about human beings and about character. This is a man who is authentic. This is a man who is genuine. This is a man who has the courage of his convictions. When he's with you, he looks you in the eye and he tells you he's with you. When he's not with you, he looks you in the eye and he tells you he's not with you. And that's about this. And this is how I judge a person. He's all heart. He's here to do the right thing. He's a friend in good days and bad days. I said to him yesterday, he's so good that as governor of the state, one day I might make him an honorary New Yorker. Ladies and gentlemen, give a big round of applause to the Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden.
You're all making me feel bad. I'm going to be short, but sit down, man. Everybody sit down. But, I tell you what, Governor, I've kept this secret from you for a long time. I used to live in New York. I lived in Garden City as a young kid after World War II when my dad was working out on the island. I lived there for 3 years. Thank God I moved, because between you and your father, I would have never made it in New York politics. Rabbi, you've been a good friend of mine for a long time. Please sit down, Rabbi. Please sit down. And I want to tell you, Stephen, you know, we have an expression in little steel town I went to school in and grew up in Claymont, Delaware. You go home with them that brung you to the dance. You guys brought me to the dance back when I was a kid, getting involved. And the same with you, Pat. If there is a police officer or a firefighter in New York, it's not my friend, we're not together, I haven't found him yet. I joke in Delaware there's 3 political parties: Democrats, Republicans, and firefighters. I got the firefighters. You know, look, this is a important day of remembrance, but it's a tough day. It's a tough day for all of you who lost buddies, lost friends. It's even tougher for the family members who lost friends. I almost wish it was raining today instead of as clear and as bright as it is today, because when you go through this year after year, it doesn't matter if it's 14 years or 40 years. It brings back memories as if they happened 5 minutes ago. So let me start off by saying thank you. Thank you for showing the United States again and the world again that you have the courage, every single solitary, to face up to what happened, remind everybody what our obligation is, and stick with your friends. Billy Joel, no one writes or sings better than you, except one guy wrote a little better than you, William Butler Yeats. He said once, "Pray I will and sing I must, and yet I weep." Billy, thank you for helping so many New Yorkers, so many Americans sing more than they've wept over the last 14 years. To the families of the fallen, again, I admire your courage. In a similar circumstance for me, I never had the courage to show up for the first 5 or 6 years. But you all do. But I'm here basically to just say thank you. And to the family members who are here, I want to say thank you for raising such incredible heroes. Being a firefighter or a police officer or first responder isn't just what your sons and daughters and husbands and wives did, it's who they were. It's stamped into your DNA. There's something about you. It's different. Early this morning, I met with families at Rescue 1 Fire Hall, whose whole lives are about not only fighting fires, but saving the lives of firefighters. You know, there's an old expression, God created all men equal, but then he created firefighters. There's some truth to it, and the same can be said of police officers. You're the folks I grew up with. I don't understand it completely. I think you're all crazy, but thank God you are. I really mean it. Thank God you are. And like my son and so many other sons and daughters I've met in fire stations, precincts, and war zones, you're men and women of absolute courage, and no one could have explained it better than the governor. Courage isn't that instantaneous reaction. Real courage is when you know what you're about to do, you've had time to think about it, you know the likely consequence, and you still do it. That's courage. But so many of you lost friends, the wife who knew your thoughts before you even expressed them, the son who just when you looked at him made you proud and made you realize everything was worthwhile, the daughter who makes you laugh, the brother who always had your back. They're the guys who, even if outnumbered, would jump into a fight to help a friend, who worked all day and then went home and lined the Little League field as baseball season opened up. The folks who did not only the fundraisers for the fallen, but for the families and the folks who lost their homes or lost all they had. I know and you know they're irreplaceable. I know no message, even over time, ultimately heals the wounds. And I know the courage it takes to be here, but it matters. Your physical presence gives hope to thousands and thousands of people who are not going through the exact same thing, but are suffering enormous loss. And once a year, every year, they see you all still line up. They see you screwing up the courage to face what happened again. And they realize, maybe I can make it. Maybe I can make it. My mom had an expression. She had a lot of them. She was Irish. She said, Joey, remember, you're defined by your courage and you're redeemed by your loyalty. You're defined by your courage and you're redeemed by your loyalty. The men and women we mourn today fit my mother's description, including you all with your loyalty, more than any group of women or men in this country. 14 years ago, Rescue 1 fighters could see the smoke, knew the danger, and as the governor said, they went ahead anyway. They died alongside many other heroes. 343 firefighters from the New York Fire Department, 37 from the Port Authority Police Department, 27 from New York PD, 2,753 innocent people here in New York, 184 in Washington, 40 people in Pennsylvania. And it shocked the nation's conscience. But you became the face of resolve for all of America. That one picture of a grizzled fireman coming out of the smoke and human debris with a look of resolve on his face when I was over in Afghanistan at that time, in a prison, a temporary prison camp for the Taliban. And you know what they had up at the head of that, in a room about this size, a makeshift tent? They had the picture of that fireman in the middle of the war zone in Afghanistan. That's what gave them courage. So folks, like the 9/11 generation that created the finest warriors we have ever seen in American history, after 9/11 and seeing your resolve, 4,600,000 people signed up to join the United States military. Over 2,500,000 of them went to Iraq and Afghanistan to avenge the losses that occurred here. Every single day, I carry a schedule like all of you do. But every single day, I have my military aides contact the Pentagon at 5:30 in the morning. You can't see it, but there's a little black box here. And on the box said, U.S. troops daily update. U.S. troops died in Iraq and Afghanistan. 6,719. Not over 6,000, not roughly 6,700. 6,719, because every single man and woman lost left behind a whole community, a whole family, a whole legacy. Wounded, 52,328, not 52,000, but 328, because every single one, like your friends sitting home on couches still suffering from having done their duty, are required additional help, and they're entitled to every single solitary help the United States government can provide them until the day they die. And the thing I love about you guys, you don't leave anybody behind. You don't fail to remember every single solitary individual. In a nation and a world that's become numb with violence and overgeneralizations, we talk about it, like as Pat Moynihan said, we're defining deviancy down. You guys don't. Remember every single solitary person. And so, folks, we owe you. We have many obligations. But I'll conclude by saying we only have one truly sacred obligation, and that's to take care of the people, equip them, those who serve us, protects our lives and our nation, and take care of their families when they come home, however they come home. Folks, there's a headstone in Ireland that reads the following. It says, "Death leaves a heartache no one can heal. Love leaves a memory that no one can steal." What you have, what I have, what we have what most people long for. A love and a memory and so cherished and so profound that it makes every other thing in our life worth doing. We always rise up as a nation. We always ride on. So let me say, may God bless the memory of the heroes we lost. May God bless the United States of America. And may God protect our firefighters, our police, and our troops wherever they are. I love you guys. You're the single best in America. Thank you.
One last time, let's thank the Vice President of the United States for being here, and Pat Lynch in the NYPD, and Steve Cassidy in the FDNY, and Rabbi Schneier and Billy Joel. And let's go ride down to the ground zero. Thank you.